Okay, I'm going to start because we've actually asked a really good question from Zane. What's the difference between the container fluid and container? So the important thing to remember, container is think of it as a horizontal block. Each container is a horizontal block on the page. And the reason you're different, and all I've done is two things. To the class container fluid, I've applied the background color of red, and to the class container, I've added a background color of blue. Okay? Because up until now they've been empty, they wouldn't actually, if I didn't have any content, you wouldn't see anything. So I've just stuck the word hello in both of those containers so we can now see something. So what's important is you can now see the container fluid goes the full width. Container has these margins, and the width of those margins will depend on the device. Okay, so if you want like a banner or your menu, that's where you'd have that across the full width. And where you're saying the products, so if we compare this to EB Games, which has been our reference, these are container fluids, whereas these are containers. Can you see the difference? You've got this margin, but what happens, and this is what Bootstrap does for you, when we change devices, notice the container, because you're on a narrow, you don't want to be looking at already small mobile phone and have these white gaps left and right. So container and container fluid become the same on a mobile device. But all of a sudden we go up to an iPad. So an iPad would be a medium-sized screen. We now have a little bit of margin there. Does that make sense? And then the bigger, I'll put up to responsive, the bigger the device, so at the moment this is 50% scale, the more that padding is. Does that make sense? So you use that for your responsive utilities. Okay? Yeah, so and as a web designer, you make a decision. If you imagine looking at EB Games, these products on a wide screen, if your eyes had to scan from this, you'd fit another product on each side, and your eyes had to read all these products, you get a sore neck. It's not a very good, what we call UX, a term called user experience, versus a banner, which is a great big image and is normal to scan that. But even then, they're clever enough, they don't put detailed information on left and right. Still there's a bit of space there. They've actually thought about this banner. Okay? That's the difference. So we are now going to start to put together some content on our page. So let's get rid of these hellos, because we don't want that. Can I ask groups A and C, can you just, guys, groups A and C.
Sure, Leroy.
Guys, Leroy, we're recording. So I'm just going to save that. I'm going to get rid of this CSS so I don't get confused like Attican already did. So we're back to blank. And the first thing we're going to do is, I didn't save that HTML. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to get a nav bar. We're going to do a navigation bar, which is our menu and our logo. Okay. So in the design toolkit, scroll down to HTML, and where it's got the links to Bootstrap, it then has a link to a Bootstrap form menu generator. And now, this is what professional web designers do.
Can I still time you for 5 minutes?
Yep. So they're not going to sit there and write tons of code they don't need to write, because it's the same. Does that make sense? So you've got to decide what menu. This is the menu that's normal. It's static in the page. You've got a menu that's fixed at the top. And see how my page rolls underneath it? I can do fixed at the bottom. You want to do a different sort of menu. Okay, but we're going to do fixed top, because that's a very standard sort of menu design to do. You can change the breakpoint. You might actually want always, means it's always in menu mode. So that's one you can do. You can decide where it breaks, but normally you have it break from the full menu to the mini menu at large. So you don't need to touch that settings. And all we need to do is copy this code, because we're going to change this later. So I've copied that code. I'm now going to paste this in to my code. The one thing you're going to need to change is from dark to light. So in this first line here, the very top of the code, it has the classes navbar, navbar extended, and navbar light. That's to do with the coloring. Okay, so change that to light. Control S. I've saved that. We're now going to reset, and our menu is already on our page. Okay, and because we did are responsive, it's all these items.
So we can.
So we're now gonna customize. So what you've asked the next question, I now want to customize it. So let me finish, and I'll show you how to customize it. Okay. So we're now gonna make this our menu for Flynn. So the first thing, we don't want the word navbar. This is the logo. So some people might just do text. Some might have the company name, but it's very, very common to put the logo. So first thing first, when you're editing these pages now, don't rush. One thing at a time, and make sure you're accidentally not over-typing something you want. Okay? So I'm going to find the word navbar. This is the word navbar, and it's in with an A tag. Can anyone remember what an A tag does? When you click on an A tag, where does it take you? Yeah, another page. It was a hyperlink. Excellent. This case, it's only going to take you to the hash, which is a place on that page, and we'll learn how to use them later. So normally in a web design, the logo takes you to the home page. So our home page is, what's the URL for our home page? Starts with I. Index.html. So I'm going to change that to index.html. So that's now going to, wherever I am on my website, that'll take me back to my home page. We now no longer want this text. What do we want?
The website, your name, website, or
Logo. Can you remember what does an image tag look like? What are the three characters I do? Excellent, you're killing it. IMG. Then SRC tells me the URL for my image. And in this case, we also, in an image tag, it closes off within itself. We don't need to do, some people think they need to do this, like I would a P tag. You don't need to do a separate finish. You're within the tag itself. I put a backslash before that, and all I need to do is put my logo. So all I do is I'll go check my logo. My logo is LOGO, and it's a PNG file, so it's .png. So I'm going to write inside those exclamation marks, logo.png. Control S. I'm now going to pull up my website. Beautiful. There is my logo. There is my menu. Problem is my logo is too big. So you always style it by CSS. Okay? So we go into our CSS. Now there's a couple of ways I can do. I can go image, I can target every image on my website. And I'm going to put width 150px. Oops. And then close. Right. And F5. Back down to size. Now what's going to be the problem when I do images otherwhere on my website? Same size as that. So I'm now limited. So I need to target that more directly. So I can go, this will help you understand how CSS works a little bit more. I can go, right, this is within, if I look in my code, this is within the navbar ID. So I can go and actually so you can see, I'm going to put this same image, I'll scroll up. This image, I'm going to put it in the div below. So you'll see the different sizing. Okay, so I've saved that, and let me show that. So you've got two images, 500 pixels, 150 pixels width. I now want to target that by going navbar. It's in the ID of navbar. So in front of image, hash navbar. And what that hash means is it's an ID. Okay, so I'll control save. Beautiful, right? But what happens if I've got two images of my navbar? I might decide to put in a Twitter logo. Am I going to have problems? Yeah, so I need to target that more directly. So I'm going to go back, and here, the image is within what class? Within what tag? The A tag. What class does that tag have? Navbar brand. So I can actually go navbar brand. I can go, what am I going back there? I'll go back into my style. And because it's a class has a dot before it. That means class. Control S, F5. Okay? So that now means I'm targeting that image. Okay? But let's say I want to have two images in my logo. and I want a different size, I need to target directly, I can then go, you don't have, I'm only going to show, don't do this, just I want you to understand it. I can go image, I'm going to add to this, class, logo. So I've just added a class, which is logo, L-O-G-O, Control S. And now I no longer need, well, there's two ways. I can go dot logo. Oh, no, actually, no, I will need to logo. So it's because it's a class of an object. So I'm actually targeting the image with the class logo. I need to img.logo. Have I mistyped? Hang on, let's go back. I've mistyped something. I forgot an equals. Control S. So I forgot class equals. This is the joys of programming. You cause all lots of problems. F5. I'm now back. I'm now targeting that image. I'm saying that image only has to be that, which allows me to put other things. So you can decide how you target things. Okay. So don't do that. Just understand it. So we have now created a logo. We'll go back in. So you're not confused, I'm going to get rid of that because we don't actually need it. This is because we know we've only got one image in the navbar class. To have .navbar brand image is perfect. We don't need any more than that. Okay, so I'll save that. I'm going to get rid of this source down here because I don't want it. Okay, now we want to change these. So again, please do this slowly. Don't start over typing stuff. You'll actually see this home is there. Actually, let me put them side by side so it's a bit more obvious. I need this a little bit. No, okay. So this features is that. The reason that's darker is because this class here is active. Does that make sense? So if I take off active, and I put active here, features now becomes active. And that means that's the page you're on. I'm on my home page, so the home link should be active, nothing else. So I want to do that. I want to leave home, but what's the URL for our home page? Index.html. Right? So my home page is now going to always take me to my home page. I don't want features. What do you reckon is a good menu item for someone selling games? Sorry? Okay, so we'll come to consoles later because I'll show that somewhere better. What are new releases? New releases?
New games. Fuck it.
New games? Right? And I need to go new.html. Now, for this task, every time you make this, doesn't mean you actually have to make that page, but I do want you to make a proper link. Does that make sense? So new games, the next one we're going to say specials. .html. So you notice I just changed the href. Make sure you don't so what tends to happen is people accidentally delete that when they're typing and it causes problems. Okay, so this one I'm saying go slowly. I'm going to change that so the wording says specials. Right? And then now this is my drop down menu. See that drop down? And I want my drop down to be called consoles or platforms, really. And I just did exactly what I said not to do. I accidentally overtyped something. So I accidentally overtyped this, so be really careful. Guys. And then I've got my platforms, PS4, Nintendo, and Xbox. Right? Oh, I need another one because I want to put PC. So all I've got to do is copy this.
Oh, just change where it says Xbox.
Add it, and then change that to say PC.
Okay.
Control S. Let's refresh this. And again, there's our platforms.
Can we do the same thing to the other side?
So now the href is always your link. Hyperlinks reference, right? So at the moment, it's not going to take me anywhere. That would be ps4.html. This will be Nintendo.html. This will be Xbox. This would be pc.html. Save that. F5. And now you see here, I'll click on PS4. It takes me to PS4 HTML. So when you go to make the web page for PS4, you just make a new page, the new HTML, and change the content. You would then, in this menu, you would make the drop-down menu to be active. Okay, so that was now dark, so you knew what page you're on. Okay. Now let's say I actually don't want this form, this search button here. Wait, hold on, let's go back. I don't want that search here. I can just find it here, select that, delete it, don't need it. But what I do need is, in our assignment, you've got to do an index page, you've got to do a contact page. Right, so I need a contact page. So I'm going to go under here. Now I don't want the drop down. I'm just going to copy the specials. Now I need the list as well as this. So I grab all these lines of text, copy them. I then need to go, now notice what I do. I click the top of the drop down menu and I now know where it finishes. Does that make sense? I put my cursor after that, return. That's exactly where I want to paste it. Paste. Just correct the white space. And then I'm going to go contact. And I'm going to change that to contact.html, Control S. There it is, contact. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's how you make a menu. Okay, so now I want you to go off slowly and carefully, go through and make your menu. Thank you.